Yo, how you guys doing? I'm Set. That's my name. What did you guys think of the video tour that you guys just watched? If you haven't, stop this now and go check that video out. Why is this important? Because that video is the foundation to what I'm going to be discussing with you now. Okay? Video tour idea around it was to get you guys to see what we saw, to experience what we experienced when we took over the property. Okay? And as such, I'd like to discuss three key things that you need to know, right? Based on our lessons, that you need to know after you've bought your investment property. Number one, right? Always line up your service providers. Number two, secure your property. And number three, when doing your renovations, start from the top down. Yeah? All right. Now let me get into more detail around number one, right? Which is to line up your service providers. Why is this important? Well, number one reason that I can think of is this. The longer you have the property, right, without actually renovating it, the longer you have to pay for holding costs, right? Now, this whole thing is simple. Reduce the amount of time that it takes, right, from when you take ownership of the property to when you start generating income from the property, which is holding costs. The more you can reduce this time, the more you can reduce your holding costs, which are just basically any cost that you incur while waiting to get the property rented out, right, or leased, so that you can start generating income from it. So these are like your bond costs, for instance, your municipal costs, your electricity, your water, etc. Right? So that period where you're actually renovating the property, right, so that it can be suitable for whoever your tenant is going to be, right, you're incurring holding costs. Yeah? So you reduce that time, you're doing good things for your business. The longer it takes, the more it hurts your bottom line. Yeah? All right. Now, service providers are like a weird thing, you know? If you, oh, by the way, when I say service providers, for context, make sure we're all on the same page. I mean people that you actually need to help you renovate and do whatever changes that need to be done to the property. So these are people like your general contractors, for instance, your plumbers, your electricians, your carpenters, right? Anybody that you're going to need in this renovation period is what I refer to service providers. Okay? Now, the reason why you need to line them up first is multifold, but the main one is the one that I just mentioned now. You reduce the time it takes to renovate because you get going quicker. That's number one. Number two is this. If you can spend time, especially if you're working out of town, if you can spend time, to do your research around who the best people are for different types of job, right? It's going to help you quite a bit when you have to start doing the renovations. And you don't want to be looking around for people when you've taken over the property, when you are now paying costs to keep this property, right? You want to do that before, because when you do that before, when transfer happens, you are already there, right? And it also gives you time to have multiple people and multiple redundancies for these people. So instead of getting one plumber, you could have 3 plumbers, and you could rate them based on what your research or what their recommendations were for each one. If one doesn't do what they're supposed to do, quickly fix your mistake and move on to the next one and the third one, etc. Right? All right, cool. So that's number one. Number two, secure your property. You know why? No matter how secure you think the suburb is, there's always going to be thieves, right? So it's always best to take a proaction stance on this. Otherwise, you will learn the hard way, as I did. So in my case, I knew the fact that I needed to secure the space. But what I thought I would do is to save a bit of money by using the contractors. So the contractor was willing to have some of his people live at the project site while they were doing renovations. So for me, it was like, it doesn't make sense to get an additional person with additional cost to come and live there while they're already there. But this is where I got it wrong though. During the December holidays, the whole crew from the contractor side left and went back to their homes. And what happened? I had a break-in. Yep, I had a break-in. And you will see the details of this break-in in one of the later episodes. But my point is this. From the onset, do not compromise on this, as you will learn the hard way as I did. Always secure your space upfront. Get somebody, doesn't have to be a security company, doesn't have to be a security. Get somebody that you trust, right? That's if you're from a township, even better, because you're probably going to have somebody who doesn't have a job, right? And you say, you know what? Just stay at my place and I will pay you to stay at my place and I will make sure that you are properly fed while you're there, right? And this person will not only be looking out for your space, but will be your eyes and ears in terms of, some of the things that some contractors may be doing, yeah? Easy solution and it's relatively affordable, it's cheap, okay? So don't forget that, guys. Have somebody there to look after your space. That's number 2. Have security at your place. Secure your property. Otherwise, they're going to steal your stuff. Okay. All right. Number 3. As I mentioned, start from the top down. Yeah. Top down. Yeah. Top down. Right. Now, what do I mean by this? Right. If there's any work that needs to be done on the roof, you start with that. Now, in my case, I had determined through my due diligence that I needed to seal the roof because there was a lot of leakages coming from the roof. Yeah. And I determined, you know what? One of the first things I would need to do is to seal the roof. And that's exactly what I did. All right. Now, don't take for granted the fact that it might be winter, chances of rain are limited or whatever. But just a few days ago, we had rain and it's supposed to be winter, right? In my case, it was even worse because it was in December. So chances of rain were very, very high, right? And what that meant is if I hadn't sealed the roof and I started doing my renovations, then it meant should there have been rain, which there was, right? Then my stuff would have gotten soaked and a lot of it would have gotten messed up. Imagine cement getting soaked by water. What's going to happen to it? It's ruined, right? So always seal the roof, all right? And once you've done that, you come to the next level to say anything that needs to go into the roof, anything that needs to go into the ceiling, right? You make sure whether it's wiring, whether it's plumbing, or whether it's a geyser, or anything that needs to go in there goes in there, right? Before anything else can be done. The cosmetic stuff you do at the last moment, okay? So any of those that need to be done, you do and you make sure that they are done. And you test to make sure that everything works well. Especially if you're going to have any pipes that are going up there, all right? You don't want people going in and out, having leaks because this pipe wasn't done properly or anything like that. Before you start doing your sealing, all right? Now, once that's done, you can then say, okay, does anything need to go into the walls? Now, in my case, I was reconfiguring the space. So I needed some of the new plugs, new electrical rewiring and plumbing to be done. All right. So I had to make sure that I waited until if there's any cutting that needed to be done on the walls, it was done, because that has a lot of dust. Now imagine if you've painted and you've done some of the things, carpentry, and you've painted, you've done something, and all of that dust now needs to come in. What does that mean? It means you will have to repaint again. And most of you know, if you've done any renovations, that painting costs a lot of money from a labor point of view and from the actual paint. Paint is expensive, guys. You don't want to have to repaint unless you absolutely have to for touch-ups. That's it. Okay. So you start then, you say anything that needs to go into the walls, goes into the wall, they're properly sealed. Any cracks are sorted out before. So some of the cracks even go through the ceiling. Make sure that they are covered properly and they're closed before any work can be done in terms of painting or any artwork that you're going to be putting on the walls. Now, once that's done, you can then start to sort out the final touch-ups, you know, your painting for a specific room or whatever, your tiling, your nice things that people are going to see, okay? This is very important though. Very, very, very important is this thing, all right? In some cases, you might think that your contractor knows best. Now, some contractors know their stuff and they are fair, great, but you will not always get some of those, all right? So you have to make sure that you are not bullied by a contractor into doing something that should come last first, all right? Because from a contractor's point of view, especially the ones that are not super experienced and the ones that are, you know, less organized, they will want to maximize the amount of money they make for the time they are there. So while some of them are doing the stuff that needs to be done first, you will find that others are already doing something and then they'll tell you, no, don't worry, we'll do touch-ups. Those touch-ups cost money because they require additional painting or something like that, all right? So make sure that you push your agenda to say, guys, you're not going to touch anything cosmetic until the structural things are done, okay? And therefore, you make sure that whatever your agenda is, it's the one that's carried through. Unless you have somebody that's been doing this for years and then they can give you a reasonable reason as to why you should approach things a certain way, all right? But always take everything with a pinch of salt. If you're not sure, ask us. Ask other investors, how would you deal with this, okay? This way you're not taken for a ride in any way, shape, or form, okay? All right, those are my three key lessons from this episode or from this stage of the property renovation, all right? I hope you guys get some value out of this. And guys, there's more coming. There's plenty more coming. There's plenty more coming, all right? Like and comment. What would you have done? How would you approach the similar or same situation differently? Are there any things that we missed? Give us your thoughts, guys, right? So that we can also learn from you. Because remember, as I said, this is a learning platform, not only for you guys, from us, but also from us to you. I'm confusing myself here. I'm basically saying goes either way, hey? All right? I'll see you guys in the next episode, and don't forget to like and subscribe, okay? And comment, guys. Come on. Let's go. Sharp.